on here. I just wrapped up a private Zoom event, and I wanted to talk to you about a topic that I've been hearing a lot about over the last several weeks. And a lot of people are feeling that what worked for them to build their businesses is not working any longer. And that obviously is something that can be extremely frustrating. And especially if you have an online business or if it's a brick and mortar business, we are told in today's world that, we need to be more visible, and we need to put posts up, and we need to put, consistent content up. And there are different ways to get from where we are to where we want to be. All right. And obviously, there is a strategy that needs to be developed. You know, uh, Call it your business plan, whatever the case may be. I learned early on, though, that, uh, you know, less than 10% of the people really follow a business plan to a T, because we are faced with unexpected hurdles, right? Or things happen. So we need to be able to have a plan, have a strategy, but be able to know when we need to pivot or when we need to adjust. And the only way we do that is by assessing and, being somehow being able to be objective, in the sense that if this isn't working, then I need to do something else. But what I wanted to talk about briefly today in today's pop up is the title of the event that I just hosted. I called it Who Moved My Sales Strategy. And it's really about, turning your visibility into real conversations, into clients, and into revenue. Because if you have a service or a product based business, whether it is online or brick and mortar, it's not uncommon for our businesses to have peaks and valleys, right? And, you know, you may have been told, or you thought that, oh, if I just hired somebody to post consistently, that can help. And absolutely, we need to have a presence if we are looking to reach people that are on social media. But we need to be where our people are. We need to be in the right rooms with the right people. And since I started the Happy Executive 12 years ago, I've conducted over 5,800 sessions with high performing leaders in 44 countries. And prior to that, I had been in pharmaceuticals, and I started my career with AT&T after I got out of college. So I spent a good chunk of my career with AT&T, 15 years, and I started below the bottom rung of the ladder because I was in a brand new startup division where I needed to generate my own leads. And at that time, that meant feet on the street, or, hand on the phone, dialing for potential leads. I was calling on businesses to find out if they were candidates to purchase AT&T phone systems. So I was in IT and telephony sales. But anyways, I have learned a lot through my career, and in making sure that we're in the right rooms with the right people. And I'm very blessed and fortunate nowadays to be able to help other founders and CEOs to be able to launch and scale their businesses. And getting back to the beginning, what I've been finding is people are saying what did work isn't working now. Maybe what did work was more cold outreach with email. Can cold outreach with email still work? Yes, absolutely. Can ads still work? Yes, absolutely. But things do change in this fast-paced world. So I want you to know that if you feel like you are, what's not working, you're not alone. If you feel like attention is more harder to hold with people, or you feel people are slower to respond, or just merely the visibility, like you're getting yourself out there. Maybe you are speaking at events, maybe you are speaking online, but it's not translating into revenue. You are not alone. And the reason is because visibility alone is not creating the revenue. Okay. Because there are things, there are tasks, there are moments in time that need to occur before, during, and after, so that you can make sure that you're enrolling the right people from the right rooms. Okay. So that means, who your ideal clients are. It's not effective. Obviously, I think we've all heard that phrase, like throwing spaghetti at the wall. It was one of the phrases I learned in messaging with AT&T. We can no longer do that and expect to get, I mean, it never really worked, but there were times I think of over the last, 12 to 15 years where you could kind of experiment. You could, put some things out there and see, did a handful of people purchase, did a handful of people enroll. But obviously in the world that we live in today, everybody is not going to be our ideal client. And it's really important that that we know that. So let's just say if you're doing a free event to share some of your knowledge to seek to serve, then we should know that maybe 1% of those people are ready to buy at that time. Like they may be at that point where they would be ready to enroll into your product or service offering. But I would like to ask you that if this is a topic that is important to you, what really feels the most challenging right now? Is it being visible? Is it having conversations, with humans, because people buy from people? Is it consistency? Like maybe you're posting sometimes, or maybe you're having events sometimes, but you're not having them consistently. Or perhaps it's follow up. Maybe you're just not following up as you should. And there are reasons for that. Like we all have different levels of resistance, and we need to make sure that we are committed to overcoming that resistance so that we can serve the people that we're meant to serve. Okay. So the real problem here is the fact that a lot of us may think, well, I'm just not being seen enough, or I'm not putting the right content out there, or, maybe you think, yeah, I definitely have a marketing problem. Yes, I definitely have a marketing problem. I'm not getting enough leads. But in reality, you may not be having enough conversations. You may not be positioned in front of the right people, may not be following up. And when I say you, I mean, it could be, maybe it is you because maybe you're launching or you're a solopreneur, but maybe it's your team. Okay. So keep in mind that when I say you, I'm speaking to you with you as your company, right? And it could very easily be one of those three problems that I mentioned. Because just because you get invisible, or just not invisible, just because you become visible by more people doesn't mean it's the right people in the right rooms that would actually be wanting to work with you, to have you solve their problem, or to help you make sure, to help them achieve their outcome. So we have to be positioned with the right people in the right rooms. And, even if we do post every day, that doesn't mean that we can not have conversations. So, what I would like to challenge you to do is, if you are looking to uh, launch or scale your business, then I would challenge you to have 15 to 20 new conversations every week. And keep in mind, in today's world, that could be starting as a DM conversation. It doesn't need to necessarily be on the phone. It can be, but you do need to be mindful of your time, right? Because the one thing that we all have in common is we have the same amount of hours in every day. So the only difference is how we choose to use those. And if you are either in sales for a company, or if you are building your own business, whatever the case is, we need to be mindful of the top revenue producing hours. And we need to make sure that we're maximizing those hours. So that does not mean that we are sitting and reading a book during the top revenue producing hours or working on our website. We need to be doing revenue producing activities, and conversations equates to one of those revenue producing activities. Okay. So understand that when I mentioned resistance earlier, a lot of us have at one point or another have had situations where we would delay the cold outreach. Like if it was manual, if it was automated, it might just run in the background. But if it was manual, we may delay it. We may avoid the follow up. And I know some of you can relate to that. You may overthink writing a text message or an email. You may think, I'm just going to wait until I become more confident. But the confidence comes from the doing and from the learning. And it feels messy at first because it's something new, right? Anytime we do anything new, even when we're established business owners, we're doing something new, still going to feel messy, right? We don't want to bother anyone. So that's why we may delay the follow up. But what happens is, if we delay those and we don't push through that resistance because we are seeking to serve, then opportunities are lost in those moments, okay, between knowing what to do and actually doing it. So the confidence comes, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but the confidence comes from the doing, okay? Now, the one thing I do want to assure you is, resistance does not mean that you're lazy, okay? It's usually protecting something in you, or maybe your team. Maybe you're protecting your team because you don't want them to feel like they are rejected. Okay. But understand that it is our duty and our obligation to follow up with people that may have expressed interest in us helping them some way, because they may not get the help they need if we don't do this, if we don't follow up, if we don't, pre-qualify them, qualify them. And in some cases, when we set things up properly, of course, AI and automation can help with that pre-qualification. But what I want you to hear me say today is, AI and automation is meant to amplify our voices, and it's meant to amplify our presence. So we need to make sure organically that we are doing the right things and getting the successes that we're seeking before we amplify with AI and automation, and understanding that, it is something with our tech stack, with our tools that we can do. And we should be, consistently assessing those and making adjustments when we need to. But it's important that we do not forget that, humans buy from humans, and we need to have that proof of concept. We need to map out that client journey, which I'm not going to get into today because we have a limited time on this pop up. But I wanted to just, make it super clear to you that if you feel that something has changed or someone moved your company's sales strategy, you are clearly not alone. Okay. So, the best thing that you can do in today's world is to get super clear. And I invite you to follow the framework that we use at the Happy Executive, which is be heard, get seen, and earn more. All right. So, what do I mean about being heard? Well, I mean about saying things clearly, right? Your voice and your messaging so that people clearly understand how you can help them. And this is very foundational, very basic, right? The second point in the framework is getting seen. Okay. So it's more about intentional visibility and being in the right rooms with the right people. And then the third piece of our framework is earning more. And how we earn more revenue and recognition is by having more conversations, by building those relationships. And remember that the revenue is built through the trust and the conversations. So this is about becoming more intentional, not necessarily being louder, screaming from the rooftops, okay? Because we actually work with a lot of introverted professionals. I am one of them. I just learned when I got my first job at AT&T that if I didn't learn to speak to people one-on-one and in groups, I wasn't going to make sales and I wasn't going to have my job at AT&T. So I had to learn to be more extroverted and work with my personality of being introverted. And that's one of the things that we do. We help people uh, in uh, i- in our community. So keep in mind that the people that you're seeking to work with, the smart people, do not necessarily need more information. They just need some structure, they need support, they need to understand how you can clearly help them create the outcome that they are seeking. So, if this is you, if you are looking to launch or you're looking to scale your business, whether or not you own the business or you are working for the business, then I would like to invite you to take a look at a link that I'm going to circulate. And it's for the Happy Starter. It's a very foundational program where we just have group cohorts, classes where we can help you to be heard, to get seen, and to earn more revenue and recognition. And understanding that we work and implement AI and automation. I've been working with automation since 2008, and I'm actually just finishing up my PhD in AI and automation. AI and automation and technology in general is meant to amplify what is already working. So we feel that people that are interested in this, a good place to start is the Happy Starter, which is more of a sprint where you can learn what needs to be done, maybe identify clearly what you may be missing and be able to really get super clear so that you know who you're helping and why it matters, right? Because that's super, super important. So, in today's world, we really don't need more noise, right? We just need to make sure that we're taking the steps and in the right direction and having more aligned action instead of just kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall is what we used to say in sales, or in today's world, having using spaghetti prompts, which, are is a quagmire and, leads to usually less than favorable outcomes, right? But we will be circulating the link for the Happy Starters so that you can take a look and see if it's something that you may want to be part of. I feel very strongly about gathering people together and really creating a movement of people that are done being quiet. I want to serve the people that really want to be heard. so they can seek to serve. That's super, super important. And believe me, if I can do this and I can speak to you all and to groups of people in rooms and online, I started below the bottom rung of the ladder at AT&T. And T. And if I can do this and I can learn to, get in front of the right people in the right rooms, then you can too, because there is something driving you. There is something inside of you that says, I want to help people with their health, or I want to help people with their wealth or uh, their happiness. Whatever your mission is, then you owe it to yourself to do something about it, to fight through that resistance. And one of the quickest ways that I know how to fight through resistance is to have accountability by other people. So, this movement that we are creating is, like I said, really for the people that are done being quiet. It doesn't mean that they have to shout from the rooftops, but they are done being quiet. They want to be heard by the right people in the right rooms. So if that's you, check out the Happy Starter link that will be circulating around, or you can send me a DM, or in the comments, you can just put me and we will send that over to you. All right, everyone. So I hope this pop up was valuable to you. Again, I would encourage you, if you are looking to launch or scale your business, then I would encourage you to commit to having 15 to 20 new conversations every week. Again, they can start in the DMs. You will be meeting people, you will be increasing your network. You may be able to introduce them to people, they may be able to introduce you to people. In there should be some clients, right? And in there should be some collaboration partners. All right. So take the challenge if you feel so compelled. Make new friends, right? That's what we used to say with it in 4-H. I was loved 4-H. It really helped me kind of get out of my shell because I was really quiet, didn't even like hearing my own voice. But I learned to do it anyways. And so maybe some of you, that's what you needed to hear today. But if anything did connect with you, and if you're taking me up on that challenge as far as having 15 to 20 new conversations a week, or if you heard me say you need to do it anyway, let me know, because I would love to know what your thoughts are. I would love to know if you've experienced, hesitation, resistance before. And you know what? This can be in a sales role for a company too. It doesn't necessarily mean, that you are leading the company. In some cases it does, but you may feel this way at certain stages if you are in sales, which I certainly can relate to, because I felt it through different stages in my sales career, with different changes in offers, and things like that. Then I would find myself having a bit of resistance because I maybe wasn't 100% sure, or I didn't have a lot of the product or service knowledge. So I felt like I needed to study more. This resistance, that comes up is meant to protect us. However, we need to work through it, because the confidence comes from the doing. It's not waiting to be confident. We must do those difficult things, those challenging things, before we can feel confident. So let me know what really landed with you today, and let me know if you'd like me to do more pop-ups. Okay. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And thanks for being here.